Have you ever felt that there are Marian dates the world has forgotten? Have you noticed how some apparitions remain in the shadows of the more famous ones? Dear brothers and sisters, August 19th is not an ordinary day. It's a date sealed with heaven's urgency, marked by a love so profound that it rewrote history itself. This isn't May 13th or October 13th, those dates everyone recognizes when we speak of Fatima. This is a day that rarely appears in processions, seldom gets mentioned in sermons, and many devoted Catholics don't even know exists. Yet those who discover it understand something powerful. This isn't just another page on the calendar. It's a moment of grace that can completely shift the spiritual direction of a life. If you believe in the wisdom and intercession of Our Lady of Fatima, write in the comments, "Mary of Fatima, intercede for me." Your faith helps this message reach more hearts that need to hear it. But why should August 19th matter to you? Why did Padre Pio himself consider forgotten Marian dates like this to be spiritual gold mines? Opportunities when heaven opens its treasury of graces in ways that can transform everything. Here's what most people don't realize. While the world celebrated the famous apparitions of Fatima, something extraordinary happened on August 19th, 1917, something that carries a special blessing for anyone who discovers its secret. It was an apparition born from the faithfulness of 3 children who chose suffering over betrayal. An apparition that came about because heaven itself wanted to reward courage and keep a sacred promise. You see, this date holds what I call the compensation blessing. When the world tried to stop God's message, heaven responded with something even more powerful. When human authorities attempted to silence divine truth, Mary herself stepped forward to ensure her children wouldn't be forgotten. And here's the remarkable part. Padre Pio, though he never set foot in Fatima, carried the same spiritual fire that burned in those Portuguese fields. He understood something crucial about dates like August 19th. He knew they weren't historical curiosities or religious footnotes. They were doorways, sacred moments when the veil between heaven and earth grows thin, and graces flow like rivers for those who know how to receive them. The saint from San Giovanni Rotondo would often say, "The Rosary is the weapon for these times." If people knew the power it contains, they would never let it go. He also warned, "There's no day without temptation, no day without struggle, but whoever hides under Mary's mantle will never be defeated." For Padre Pio, Marian dates like this couldn't be ignored. They were heaven's invitations to receive graces that God wanted to pour out in special ways. He recommended that on such days, people should unite prayer and sacrifice in concrete ways, with gestures that would mark both soul and home. This is why today, I'm going to share with you the 3 prayers you need to make on August 19th, not because they're magic formulas, but because they align your heart with the same grace Mary wanted to give the world over a century ago. These prayers have opened doors that seemed permanently closed. They've brought healing where there was only pain. They've restored hope where despair had taken root. But first, you need to understand the story. You need to know why August 19th carries such spiritual weight. You need to see how 3 shepherd children's refusal to deny their faith created a ripple effect that reaches all the way to your living room today. Because when you understand what really happened on this forgotten date, when you grasp the price that was paid for this grace to exist, these 3 prayers won't just be words you recite. They'll become bridges connecting your heart directly to the Immaculate Heart of Mary. The story begins in 1917 in a small Portuguese village where heaven decided to break its silence. To understand why August 19th holds such extraordinary power, we need to travel back more than 100 years to 1917, to the small Portuguese village of Fatima. There, 3 children, Lucia, Francisco, and Jacinta, had become messengers of the Virgin Mary. Since May Every 13th of the month, the lady dressed in white appeared to deliver a message to the world: conversion, prayer, reparation. Word was spreading like wildfire. Thousands of people began flocking to the site of the apparitions, and the fame of these supernatural events was growing beyond anyone's imagination. But August was different, dramatically different. At the beginning of that month, the civil authorities, skeptical and openly hostile to what they saw as religious fanaticism, made a decision that would change everything. They kidnapped the shepherd children. These weren't just interviews or friendly questioning. These were aggressive interrogations designed to break the children's spirits and force them to confess that everything was a lie. Picture this scene. 3 children, the oldest barely 10 years old, sitting in a government office facing grown men determined to destroy their testimony. The authorities weren't content with simple denials. They threatened the children with something that would terrify any adult, let alone kids. They threatened to throw them into a vat of boiling oil if they didn't admit their visions were made up. Can you imagine the terror? Can you feel the weight of that moment? These children, trembling but standing firm, looked their interrogators in the eye and said something that echoes through eternity. "We would rather die than lie to Our Lady." That wasn't just childhood stubbornness. That was heroic faith. That was the kind of courage that moves heaven itself. Their act of faithfulness was engraved in the heart of heaven. God doesn't forget when His children choose Him over comfort, over safety, over life itself. And Mary, the mother who had entrusted these little ones with her message, wasn't about to let their sacrifice go unnoticed. So when the children were finally released on August 15th, the Feast of the Assumption, no coincidence there, Mary made a decision that shows us something beautiful about how heaven operates. She decided that her August appointment wouldn't be lost. She chose to appear on August 19th instead. That apparition was brief, but it was loaded with meaning that we're still unpacking today. Mary asked for the same things she had always requested, but there was something different in her tone. There was an urgency, an intensity that hadn't been there before. "And I want you to continue coming to Cova da Iria on the 13th and continue praying the Rosary every day," she said. "In October, I will perform a miracle so that all may believe." But then she added something that gives us the key to understanding August 19th. She asked for sacrifices with a specific prayer. "Offer yourselves for sinners and say many times, especially when you make a sacrifice, 'O Jesus, it is for love of you, for the conversion of sinners, and in reparation for the sins committed against the Immaculate Heart of Mary.'" Here's what makes this date so special. August 19th is sealed with the courage of children who refused to betray their faith, and with the love of Mary who moved her schedule to confirm her presence. It's what I call a recovered appointment between heaven and earth. You might be wondering, what does all this have to do with Padre Pio? Much more than you might think. Although he never visited Fatima, the Holy Capuchin shared the same spiritual urgency that burned in those Portuguese fields. He carried the same fire for daily rosary prayer, for offering sacrifices for the conversion of sinners, and for living under the protection of the Immaculate Heart of Mary. Padre Pio would say, "The rosary is the weapon for these times." If people knew the power it contains, they would never let it go. This wasn't just devotional talk for him. This was battle strategy. This was spiritual warfare equipment. He also warned his spiritual children, "There's no day without temptation, no day without struggle, but whoever hides under Mary's mantle will never be defeated." For Padre Pio, that mantle wasn't a metaphor. It was real protection, real refuge, real power available to anyone willing to seek it. The saint understood something crucial about Marian dates like August 19th. They weren't just memorial days or historical footnotes. They were opportunities, divine appointments when God wanted to pour out graces in special measure. He recommended that on such days, People should unite prayer and sacrifice in concrete ways, with specific gestures that would mark both their souls and their homes. Think about it this way. The children of Fatima paid a price for this grace to exist. They faced real terror, real threats, real danger. They could have taken the easy way out. They could have said, "Okay, we made it all up. Please don't hurt us." But they didn't. Their faithfulness created a spiritual treasury that's still paying dividends today. Every time someone discovers August 19th and approaches it with the same faith those children showed, they tap into that same reservoir of grace. This is why Padre Pio would tell his spiritual children not to let days like this pass unnoticed. These aren't random dates on a calendar. They're doorways opened by the prayers and sacrifices of those who went before us. They're opportunities to receive what Mary herself wanted to give in 1917. But here's the key, and this is where we move from history into personal transformation. Mary didn't appear on August 19th just to complete a schedule. She appeared because she had something specific to give. Something that had been purified by the children's courage. Something that carries the power to change lives even today. Before I share with you the 3 prayers that unlock this grace, you need to understand something important about how to approach this day. What I'm about to share with you isn't based on wishful thinking or spiritual theories. It's grounded in the same devotion that transformed Padre Pio's life and the lives of countless souls who learned to pray the Rosary with real power. Speaking of the Rosary, many people have written to me asking how they can deepen their relationship with this prayer that Padre Pio called the weapon for these times. That's exactly why we create miracles, protection, and divine graces. This spiritual treasure will help you learn to pray the Rosary with more devotion and depth, discover the miracles and testimonies of those who have already experienced its power, and understand Padre Pio's most impactful teachings and phrases about prayer. You'll receive a 30-day prayer guide with daily intentions to strengthen your faith, plus access to special prayers for protection, healing, and liberation. The Rosary was Padre Pio's great weapon, and today it can be yours too. Don't let this opportunity pass to strengthen your spiritual life with material that has already helped thousands of people. To download it, just click the link pinned in the comments. But now, let's talk about how to properly prepare for August 19th. Because here's the truth, this isn't about magic formulas or quick spiritual fixes. This is about a real encounter with Mary. This is about opening your heart so wide that the Virgin can fill it with the same grace she wanted to give the world in 1917. The first thing you need to understand is that preparation matters. The children of Fatima didn't just stumble into their encounters with heaven. They were prepared souls already accustomed to prayer, to sacrifice, to listening for God's voice in the quiet moments of ordinary life. You can create that same spiritual environment in your own home. I recommend that on the evening of August 18th, the day before this special grace becomes available, you prepare a prayer corner in your house. This will become your personal cova da iria, your own little space for encountering the Mother of God. Here's what you'll need: an image of Our Lady of Fatima, a candle, your rosary, and if possible, white flowers. These aren't just decorative elements. Each one has spiritual significance that connects you to what happened in those Portuguese fields over a century ago. The image of Our Lady of Fatima serves as a focal point for your prayer, a visual reminder of the woman who appeared to 3 children with a message that still echoes today. When you look at that image during your prayers, you're not just looking at a picture, you're connecting with the same maternal love that moved heaven to intervene in human history. The candle represents the light of faith that burned in Lucia, Francisco, and Jacinta, even when they faced the darkness of threats and persecution. As that flame flickers during your prayer time, let it remind you that your faith, too, can stand firm against any storm. Your rosary becomes the weapon Padre Pio spoke about, not a weapon of destruction, but of construction. A tool for building bridges between your heart and heaven, between your struggles and God's solutions, between your fears and Mary's peace. The white flowers symbolize the purity of intention that makes this kind of prayer powerful. They represent the innocence and sincerity that heaven looks for when it decides to pour out extraordinary graces. But here's what's most important about this preparation. It's not about creating the perfect setup or having all the right religious objects. It's about creating space in your heart and in your day for something sacred to happen. The night before August 19th, spend some time in that prayer corner. Don't worry about saying perfect prayers or feeling overwhelming emotions. Just be there. Just show up. Let Mary know that you're serious about receiving what she wants to give. Talk to her like the mother she is. Tell her about your struggles, your hopes, your fears. Tell her about the people in your life who need conversion, who need healing, who need hope. Remind her that you're one of her children too, and that you trust her to know what you need most. This is where the spirit of Padre Pio becomes so important. He approached Mary not as a distant figure to be admired from afar, but as a real mother who wanted to be involved in every detail of his life. He would say, Mary wants to be not just honored, but lived. She wants to be part of your daily reality, not just your Sunday devotions. When August 19th arrives, approach it with that same intimacy. This isn't a performance or a religious duty you need to get through. This is an appointment, a divine appointment that was secured by the faithfulness of 3 children who refused to betray what they had seen. The atmosphere you create, the intention you bring, the faith you exercise, all of this matters, because what you're about to receive isn't just information about 3 prayers. You're about to be given keys that unlock doors you might not even know are closed. Now, let me share with you the 3 prayers that can transform August 19th from just another date into a doorway to divine grace. Now we come to the heart of everything. These 3 prayers aren't just religious exercises or pious practices. They're spiritual keys that unlock the treasury of graces that Mary wanted to open on August 19th, 1917. Each one builds upon the other, creating a pathway that leads your soul directly into the Immaculate Heart of Mary. The first prayer is the prayer of total surrender to Mary. This is an act of personal consecration, inspired by the teachings of Saint Louis-Marie Grignon de Montfort and adopted by Padre Pio as a way of life. With this prayer, you place everything you are and everything you have into Mary's hands so that she can present it all to Jesus. Here's why this matters so much. When those 3 children faced their interrogators in August 1917, they weren't relying on their own courage. They had already given themselves completely to Mary, and she was the one protecting them, strengthening them, speaking through them. That's the same protection available to you when you make this total surrender. Kneel before your image of Our Lady of Fatima, light your candle, and pray these words with absolute sincerity. O Mary, my Mother and my Lady, on this day of grace, I surrender myself entirely to you. Take my heart, my words, my thoughts, and my works. I place everything in your most pure hands so that you may present it to your Son Jesus. Do not allow me to stray from you. Keep me always under your maternal protection. Make me an instrument of your love in this world. Amen. When you pray these words, you're not just reciting a formula. You're making a covenant. You're saying to Mary, I trust you more than I trust myself. I believe that your plans for my life are better than my own plans. I'm giving you permission to rearrange my priorities, to redirect my steps, to transform my heart. Padre Pio lived this prayer every single day. He would often say, I have given Mary the keys to my soul, and she has never lost them. That's why he could face persecution, physical suffering, and spiritual attacks with such peace. He knew that Mary was managing his life, and that nothing could touch him without first passing through her hands. The second prayer is the complete rosary for the reparation of sins. This isn't just your ordinary daily rosary. This is a rosary prayed with the specific intention of repairing the damage caused by sin, your own sins, the sins of your loved ones, and the sins of the world that break the heart of God. If you can, pray all four mysteries: joyful, sorrowful, glorious, and luminous. If time doesn't permit, at least pray the joyful, sorrowful, and glorious mysteries. But here's the key. Offer each decade as reparation for a specific type of sin. Before you begin, say this prayer: Jesus and Mary, this rosary is for love of you and for the conversion of sinners. Accept each Hail Mary as a kiss of love upon your wounded hearts. As you pray the first mystery, offer those 10 Hail Marys for sins against God, blasphemy, irreverence, abandonment of faith, and rejection of divine love. Picture Mary presenting these prayers to Jesus as balm for the wounds caused by humanity's rebellion against their Creator. During the second mystery, pray for sins against neighbor, hatred, violence, injustice, lack of charity, and all the ways people wound each other. Let each Hail Mary be a plea for healing between broken relationships, between divided families, between warring nations. The third mystery is for sins against the Immaculate Heart of Mary herself, neglect of her maternal love, rejection of her intercession, and failure to honor her as the Mother God gave us. This decade repairs the wounds in Mary's heart caused by her children's indifference. Continue this pattern through all the mysteries, always conscious that you're not just saying words. You're participating in the same work of reparation that Mary requested at Fatima. You're joining your voice to the voices of those shepherd children who understood that prayer can actually heal the world. There's something profound that happens when you pray the rosary this way. People have shared with me that after praying this reparation rosary on August 19th, they experienced profound inner healing. Wounds they had carried for years suddenly began to close. Relationships that seemed beyond repair started to mend. Addictions that had controlled their lives began to lose their power. This isn't magic. This is the natural result of aligning your heart with Mary's heart, of joining your prayers to the infinite merits of Jesus' sacrifice. The third prayer is the ejaculation of union with Mary. Throughout the day of August 19th, while you work, while you walk, while you rest, repeat this brief invocation in silence. Mary, show me the way to Jesus. Padre Pio called ejaculations like this arrows of love that pierce the heart of heaven. He carried dozens of these short prayers in his spiritual arsenal, and he would shoot them toward heaven constantly throughout the day. Mary, help me. Jesus, I trust in you. Mother, protect me. These weren't interruptions to his daily activities. They were the spiritual oxygen that kept his soul alive. The beauty of this particular ejaculation is its simplicity and its power. You're not asking Mary for specific things. You're asking for the one thing that matters most, to be led to her Son. And when Mary leads you to Jesus, everything else falls into place. Practice this throughout August 19th. Say it when you wake up in the morning. Whisper it when you're stuck in traffic. Pray it silently during conversations. Let it be the background music of your entire day. There are documented stories of people who lived August 19th with this kind of devotion and experienced extraordinary graces. A woman whose marriage was on the brink of divorce found that her husband, who hadn't prayed in years, suddenly asked her to pray the rosary with him. A man struggling with addiction woke up on August 20th with no desire for the substance that had controlled him for decades. A family facing financial ruin received an unexpected blessing that solved their crisis completely. These aren't coincidences. They're the natural fruit of souls that align themselves with the grace Mary wanted to pour out on this forgotten date. But this is just the beginning. There's something even more powerful that happens when you understand what this day really represents. The truth is, August 19th isn't just a forgotten page in the history of Fatima. It's a living date, a breathing testament to something beautiful about how heaven operates. It's proof that when God's children show courage, heaven responds with abundance. It's evidence that Mary never abandons her appointments, and that we shouldn't abandon ours either. Think about what really happened in 1917. 3 children faced the worst kind of pressure, threats against their very lives, and they chose truth over safety. They chose Mary over comfort. They chose faithfulness over the easy way out. And heaven took notice. That courage didn't just protect them in that moment. It created a spiritual inheritance that's still paying dividends today. Every time someone discovers August 19th and approaches it with genuine faith, they're drawing from the same well of grace that those children dug with their bravery. I've received letters from people whose lives were transformed after living this day with the devotion it deserves. A mother wrote to tell me that her adult son, who had been hostile to faith for 20 years, called her on August 19th asking if she would teach him to pray the Rosary. She had been praying for his conversion every day for 2 decades, and heaven chose this forgotten date to answer her prayers. A man shared how he had been carrying unforgiveness toward his father for 30 years. After praying the 3 prayers on August 19th, he found himself calling his dad for the first time in a decade. They reconciled completely, and his father passed away peacefully just 3 months later. He said, "Mary gave me back my father, and she gave my father the grace of a holy death." Another woman told me about her battle with depression that had lasted for years. Nothing seemed to help, not therapy, not medication, not the support of loving friends. But after surrendering herself completely to Mary on August 19th and praying the Reparation Rosary, she experienced what she called the lifting of a dark cloud that had covered my soul. The depression didn't disappear overnight, but she found a peace and strength she had never known before. These aren't coincidences or random occurrences. They're the natural fruit of souls that align themselves with the grace Mary wanted to pour out on this date. They're proof that when we take forgotten appointments with heaven seriously, heaven takes our needs seriously too. But here's what strikes me most about August 19th. It represents something profound about the character of God. When the world tried to silence heaven's message, heaven didn't respond with anger or withdrawal. Heaven responded with even more love, with a make-up appointment, with a chance for the children to receive what they had almost lost. That's the heart of our God. That's the love of our mother. They don't abandon us when we face pressure or persecution or threats. They find new ways to reach us, new dates to meet us, new opportunities to pour out the graces we need. Padre Pio understood this deeply. He would often tell his spiritual children, "Love the Virgin, pray the Rosary, and don't be afraid. Mary is always with you." He knew that dates like August 19th weren't accidents or afterthoughts. They were divine appointments, sacred moments when the normal barriers between heaven and earth become paper-thin. As we close, I want you to understand something important about the work we're doing together. This channel exists for one reason: to help people discover the treasures of our Catholic faith that the world has forgotten or ignored. Every video we create, every message we share, every prayer we offer is part of a mission to rebuild the spiritual foundations that our world desperately needs. But we can't do this work without you. When you give this video a thumbs up, you're not just clicking a button. You're casting a vote for faith over indifference, for hope over despair, for the truth of heaven over the lies of this world. When you share this message with your friends and family, you're participating in the same work of evangelization that Mary began at Fatima. And when you become a member of this channel, you're joining a spiritual family dedicated to supporting each other in living out these truths. You're saying, "I believe that heaven is real, that prayer works, and that we're called to help each other get home to God." Your support doesn't just help us create more content. It helps us reach souls who are searching for exactly what you found here today. It helps us bring forgotten graces like August 19th back into the light, where they can transform lives again. So this August 19th, I want you to do something specific. After you've prayed the 3 prayers, after you've experienced whatever grace Mary wants to give you, come back to this video and leave a comment telling us how this day changed your heart. Tell us what you experienced, what you learned, what Mary revealed to you in the quiet moments of prayer. Your testimony might be exactly what another viewer needs to hear. Your story might be the encouragement that helps someone else take that step of faith. Remember, the children of Fatima weren't keeping their experiences to themselves. They were sharing what they had seen and heard, even when it cost them dearly. You can do the same. You can be part of spreading this forgotten grace to a world that desperately needs it. But most importantly, don't let August 19th pass by like just another day on the calendar. Mark it, prepare for it. Enter into it with the same faith that moved those 3 shepherd children to choose truth over comfort. Because here's the beautiful reality. The doors of heaven don't open by themselves. They're pushed open by prayer. They're unlocked by faith. They're widened by the courage of souls who believe that God keeps his promises and that Mary never forgets her children. This August 19th, give Mary your time, your voice, and your heart. Let her show you why this forgotten date carries such power. Let her prove to you that heaven's appointments are always worth keeping. The same God who rewarded the faithfulness of 3 Portuguese children is waiting to reward your faithfulness too. Don't miss your appointment with grace.